Nigerians see what maybe Yemi or Kwayo.
Okay, if you want to come back very quickly to your experience of the election,
Yes.
what was it on the day of election
Very well.
and the day after that that forms part of the aftermath that we are talking
Thank
about?
you very much. Like I said, election is not a destination. A day before that election, the night before that election, my house was busted. My 87-year-old man had a gun put to his head. He was beaten black and blue. Yes. Yes. On the day of election, in spite of the cyber-wrestling of the IGP, that, oh, nobody must be in Ekiti State. Of course, you remember that the four governors were coming to Ekiti State. They were stopped. But on the day of election, ask where Muslim Abanikoro was. On the day of election, ask where Chris Uba was. On the day of election, ask where Jalili Adesina was.
Well, I asked, where was Bimbo Daramola?
I was in Oye, I was in Ekiti. And then they came for me at between 1:30 and between 1:25 and 1:30, surrounded my house. And of course, strike the shepherd. The sheep will scatter. But I don't want to begin to look for, but why would that happen? Listen, you couldn't use the tape, but Nigerians can see this. This is the report of a non-APC member. Ekiti Guba, my close shave with death. This guy is not a card-carrying member. This is a Sun reporter who covered that experience. And you can read it. You can read it. How even journalists, 6 of them were handed out of town on the orders of the Mopol who tear-gassed Fayemi only 2 weeks before. When Fayemi said he would concede defeat, he did it as a mark of honor. To do one thing, to let people know that this is not about desperation. And he added a caveat. If this is the will of Ekiti people, then he doesn't have any objection. If this is the will of Ekiti people, he doesn't have any objection. But the will of the people is what we really need to vote, to really question right now. I'm not particular, I'm unfazed, I'm unbowed about the ecstasy, the celebratory moods, the backslapping. But very, very soon, Nigerians will know whether Chairman Jega has earned the backslapping. I watched a few things that when he went back to Abuja and they were celebrating.
But from your experience
yes.
again, would you say that what you saw on the day, because Channels Television had reporters
yes.
who were all around the 3 senatorial districts in Ekiti State, and the report they brought back seemed to indicate, and I repeat, seemed to indicate that the election was peaceful.
Absolutely.
What was your experience?
Let me tell you, you see, you are benchmarking that against what we used to have.
Yes.
The riotous and rancorous ballot snatching, Hilux vehicles leading and then snatching practically brazenly, carrying the ballot boxes and all of that. The DOC experience that you talked about, that was the experience. But if you benchmark this against that, obviously cleaned up.
Perfect.
Obviously cleaned up.
Yeah.
But you cannot deny the fact that
pockets of...
No, pocket. It was serially done. Are you going to deny that Mrs. Faji was picked up, sandwiched between, and then dealt with? Are you going to deny Ibitoye? Are you going to deny so many other things that happened in that way?
Can you catalog some of them for us?
I've just given you mine.
Okay.
I've just given you mine. I've given you Mrs. Faji. I've given you Ibitoye's in Ado Ekiti. I've given you how the chieftains of the PDP were moving around and picking people. Sola was picked up.
Okay. Now, what about INEC?
Yes.
How would you score INEC?
Let me. I didn't want, if we had that footage, if only we could run that footage, Nigerians would see how to rate INEC. But I am staying here and now that I have an obligation, not only to myself, my conscience, I have obligation to the defenseless, the people who they claimed vote, the 120,000 people who voted for Fayemi, and how he lost in all his local governments and all of that. I have an obligation because I know what they're saying. I have an obligation to let them know. I represented the party at the collection center when the ballot papers came. 3 days before, Chairman Jega told us that ballot papers were going to be color-coded, tied to local governments by color governments. And then the boxes of the ballot papers that we received had color tags. Ask them where.
So what did you see on the day of election?
Nothing. No color coding.
No color coding.
Nothing.
Okay.
I challenged them to say yes or no to it.
All right.
Meanwhile, the boxes that brought them, I have the pictures. Where the boxes that say Moba, green, Emure, peach, light blue, and all of that. There was not one out of all the local governments that had color coding.
Let's get a quick reaction.
And of course, excuse me,
Sorry,
and let me finish.
Let
I'll just close on this one. In the matrix of elections, at the heart of election is the integrity of your ballot papers and ballot box. But the final details, when we put it out there, they can fall all okay. But I know too well that it was digitized. It was digital, digital region.
Okay.
Digital.
All right. Let's come to Senator.
Yes.
Senator, very quickly.
Thank you very much. I don't know what my brother is trying to allude to in terms of color coding of the ballot.
Were you aware that it was supposed to be color coded? Yes or no?
Personally, I
You're
wasn't
not.
aware.
Okay, let me.
And I was not
ask
looking
you-
out
sorry,
to
I'm
that.
sorry.
Jega
But-
said so at the INEC conference.
Okay, I wasn't there.
Let me
I'm
quote.
sorry,
Let me quote.
sorry,
No.
Congressman.
But what? No.
Sorry.
Wait a minute.
I want us, no, for reason of time, we
Yes.
do not have time.
Yes.
But I do want us to manage the limited time we have.
Yes.
So please permit me. Let me ask you, were you aware as an individual that there was supposed to be color coding?
I'm not aware.
You're not aware, so both of you did not know. Okay, so that means they were not aware of
If
it.
you permit me,
Who
can I
were the
quickly
people that are
respond
aware?
to
I
what
will
he
come
said?
back to you.
Yes.
I'll come back to you. Who are the people that are aware of this?
3 days to the election. These were the words of Jega. He said, in pursuit of operational efficiency and desire for improvement of elections, we have learned lessons since 2001 and incorporated those lessons learned. And for these elections, the ballot papers are color-coded specifically, tied to the local governments. That is the tape I have brought to you.
Okay.
Now,
so,
let me
all right.
quickly.
Let's
It
get
can easily be
started.
verified.
Yeah, let
Yes.
me quickly chip in.
All right.
My honorable brother, color coding the paper is not in the Electoral Act. So the fact that he said he wanted to color code, and you just admitted that they color coded the boxes, but not the paper.
boxes. They tagged it.
They tagged
the
it
boxes.
with color codes.
Yes.
Okay, so we would not know whether what he actually meant was that he was going to color code those boxes by tagging it, and you saw that they were tagged. But does that now to the person voting, if the color coding were not there, does it vitiate the integrity of that election?
Okay, let me
So
put that.
for me, I would want to say that people,
I'll ask the question.
yes, people actually went to the polls. People voted out of their volition. They voted who they wanted in that election. Any other thing is an excuse.
Okay.
Because it's about voting.
Let me
It's
get-
about the
I
people.
said I would
Yeah,
like to
okay,
respond to
yes,
what Bimbo
okay,
Daramola said.
please go ahead.
Like he said, Egbon said that that election was won over a year ago, or Fayemi lost over a year ago. Ask him. I engaged him. We met about a year ago, and I told him that, look, you are losing the next election in Ekiti State. See, they came into power, and Fayemi became so cocky, and you see, there's a detachment between the government and the governance. There's no relation, there's no synergy. Our people don't even know who Fayemi is. He has been a stranger to the people. His policies are not acceptable to the people. And that is the truth. And the Ekiti people are enlightened. And they saw all these things and said, look, this is not the kind of person that we want. I'm the kind of a person, when I get to Ekiti State, I'm not asking the party people to tell me what was on ground. I enter buses and I'll ask questions from the buses. Let me give you my experience. One of the days, I enter a bus. I'm an Ayo Ekiti person. I enter a bus from Ayo Ekiti going to Akure. I put on a face cap and I raise a question about Fayemi. I won't raise a question about PDP. And I said, oh, Fayemi is doing well. I said it in a dialect. Unfortunately, Fayemi doesn't even speak a dialect. I speak the dialect frankly. And I said, speak a dialect to the people. And a woman that sat beside me just shifted. And I said, and I asked him,